Hello, hello, beautiful humans. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started with our presentation. There we go. Amazing. All right. So welcome, amazing humans, into just our soft little meditation masterclass. Yes, absolutely. It's no worries if you have your video off. Absolutely no problem. So as you guys know, my name is Rashmi. I will tell you a little bit more about myself as I am moving through. But I am, again, so grateful that you are here and so grateful that you may be watching this as a recording as well. So meditation, I think, piques a lot of interest for good reason, and we're going to talk about some of the benefits. But there is an exponential rise in the number of Americans who say that they either meditate daily or that they are interested in meditating daily. And there is, somewhere between an estimation of 15 to 18% of Americans who meditate now. And that is supposed to sort of skyrocket. And it has been growing exponentially since they've been keeping track in 2012. And so that's what I think makes this a really fun thing to talk about and to explore a little bit. And then to, of course, experience as well. Heidi, I'm so grateful you're here too. And so here's the overview of what we are going to do, just so you know exactly what's coming up. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. Most of you know me already. We'll just define it, what meditation and mindfulness are, and we'll look at the cost of chronic daily stress that might be affecting all of us, is probably affecting all of us. And we'll look at just a few of the benefits of meditation. We'll then get to practice a really luscious NSDR or non-sleep deep rest or yoga nidra meditation together, which I, absolutely adore and love. And I think the vast majority of you do as well. And when we're finished with that, I'm going to tell you about a brand new offer that you're the first people to hear about this. And many of you already participated in it last year. It's called Healthy Mind, Happy Holidays. And then there's plenty of room for Q&A. So that's really what we've got coming up. And so about me, you again, a lot of you guys know me already. I am a board certified family physician. I've been practicing since the year 2000. I am also a certified integrative health coach. I'm also certified as an Ayurveda teacher, and then a couple of different kinds of meditation teachers you'll see. There's also some training that I'm in right now that's trauma-informed yoga therapy. And of course, I host retreats. Many of you guys have been to those retreats. They're amazing. Dr. Michelle Quirk and I are actually going to host one more in February here in Florida. I also do private coaching. I also do group coaching as well. And I have two daughters. This kid is at college. She's a freshman at college. And then this is the one I was commiserating with a few of you guys right before we hit the record button. She's actually applying to colleges as we speak in this very moment. And so she's a senior and she's going to be off to college in August, and then we'll be empty nesters. And this was our last movement and meditation retreat. It was really fantastic. And I was so grateful to be a guest teacher at another amazing retreat this year as well. And so what is meditation? It's lots of hashtags and all these other things, right? So at its simplest, at its very core, meditation is a very sophisticated tool, and it's a skill that we can learn. And meditation is really just the journey from activity into stillness. And so it isn't really anything that we're creating or have to do per se. We're just moving from activity into stillness. That's it. And some people might say silence, right? And so it is one of the most time-efficient, cost-efficient tools for our mind, body, health, and well-being. And we'll talk about why as well. It's also one of the fastest ways that we can gain more clarity in a world full of distractions. We can tap into our resilience. And again, in a world filled with so much struggle and strife, we can really be models for open-hearted relationships and open-hearted living, if you will. And that's why I think it's so important to even just talk about meditation and have a practice of it. So mindfulness is also a hashtag, but it is also defined very, very simply, right? So the most sophisticated things tend to have the simplest definitions. So mindfulness is really the awareness that arises when we are paying attention to this present moment without judgment and with curiosity. So think about how simple that is. And yet it can be so hard for us to practice that, right? And it is a skillful way for us to move through our lives so that we can flow through all the challenges and all the wonderful things that come with living life, right? And really the practice of mindfulness can give us an increased satisfaction with our own lives, which is really what more can we ask for, right? I have this photo. This was just a couple of months ago. This was me with my niece and my nephew. And I like to think about them when I think about mindfulness, which really reminds us that we don't have to become mindful. We are already mindful beings. So if we're around, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, that they actually aren't trying to pay attention to the present moment. They already are. They aren't trying to be curious. They already are curious, right? And so a lot of what we are trying to do in this practice and in a mindfulness practice isn't so much to become someone else or to be someone else, but it's more of like letting go of who we're not so that we can come back to that essence of ourselves, that essence that is curious, that holds a capacity to not judge and just be with what is. And meditation, I mentioned it as a skill. It is the fastest way to build up our mindfulness muscle, if you will. And so what is the opposite of the things that we just talked about, right? And it's something that every single one of us is acutely aware of. And it's this chronic daily stress, right? So the human body, the human mind are just absolutely incredible. And what we know that we are built to withstand is a few seconds of this type of stress, right? So a saber-toothed tiger comes, we have to figure out what to do. And we are really kind of hardwired or wired in order to survive. So the sympathetic fight or flight response is actually an incredible thing that we have. And you can imagine that it has saved our ancestors' lives. And so of course it's been passed down and it's saved our own lives. So it's not all bad. What's happened really in the modern era, in the modern world, is this, this kind of stress, like a good level of stress, we call it eustress, right? And I think all of us can agree that the vast majority of us are way over here, as far as chronic daily stress goes, way more than we need, right? So it could be traffic, it could be deadlines, it could be work, it could be, anything. It could be this overwork that we tend to do. And the body kind of goes into this fight or flight response where we start to breathe really shallow, the heart rate goes up, the blood pressure goes up. And this is not a time to think about immune response or digestion, or certainly not reproduction. And so blood is shunted away from all of those organs and into the large skeletal muscles, because we might have to run, we might have to hide, we might have to freeze. And so you can imagine that this going on and on and on and on has a lot of consequences, right? And just an overview of some of the consequences, and all of you here know this anyway, you see this every day. So all of us are generally living in these higher than necessary levels of the sympathetic overdrive, if you will, right? And so as a result, here are some of the things that are rising. And you know this firsthand because a lot of you here are physicians, and a lot of you work within a space where you see that anxiety is increasing, depression rates are increasing, PTSD rates are increasing, chronic inflammation, hypertension, coronary disease, diabetes, obesity, all of those going up. right? And not just like a little tiny up, they're going up. And the cost right now is 37 trillion a year just in the US alone, right? And on top of all of this, what I think is really astounding is something like 60 to 62% of all Americans live with at least one chronic disease, and 25% live with either two or more chronic diseases. And so we are not exactly a healthy country, but we're also not a poor country. And so when you can kind of just look at this and go, oh my goodness, what else is going on? What we know is we're actually so distracted and we are so torn with our attention most of the time that neuroscientists call this phenomenon cognitive degradation, right? So what does that mean? It's like when I pick up my phone and I'm texting someone while I'm on a Zoom call, or I'm checking my email while I'm on a Zoom call. Our brain just isn't wired to do that. And so we're actually making ourselves dumber when we do something like this. And yet all of us do it, right? Like I've got my phone, if the TV's on, like we're constantly doing this. And so I just want us to, hey, maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's a little bit of a break we can give ourselves, right? And then what else is going on? Woo, we're all moving fast. We're fast, right? And there's kind of like, we're just so busy. We're so busy all the time. We're so overbooked all of the time. And in fact, society kind of says, actually, this is kind of a status symbol. You're so busy. This is a status symbol. And so we kind of continue the cycle over and over and over again. And whew, or not. Maybe we get to give ourselves a little break. And that's exactly why each of you is here. And so meditation is literally the opposite of the stuff that I just showed us, right? It's the opposite of what all of us are moving through on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it isn't really feasible for any of us to sit and meditate 8 hours a day, and that's definitely not even necessary. But it can help us to modulate all the fast-paced busyness that we're dealing with and all of that sympathetic overdrive that we're dealing with, because meditation is just restful awareness, right? So we're just moving into stillness, we're just moving into silence, and it is the antidote to that chronic daily stress. And as you can imagine, if the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, was a seesaw, that the parasympathetic response actually goes up. So the parasympathetic response goes up as the sympathetic goes down, and that's really activated by meditation. We don't have to do it on purpose. We know that we can. We know that it happens naturally in any meditative state. And so naturally, what else happens, right? So the blood pressure comes down. We're not trying to make it come down. The heart rate comes down, right? And so the hormones begin to shift fairly quickly, and it's also sustained as well. And so cortisol levels start to come down, adrenaline levels start to come down. And this can happen even in just the first few hours of the very first meditation. And what continues to happen is really, really astounding as well, right? And so what are some of the benefits that have been published, peer-reviewed, and there are now thousands of studies, right? And so just a few of these benefits you can imagine. There's improved immune function, and so there's these natural killer cells that rise fairly quickly when someone starts to have a somewhat regular meditation practice. And, within the digestive tract as well, you could imagine that blood starts to come back into the digestive. And so we start to pay attention to the long-term effects, right? And so that means that inflammatory markers start to go down, like I mentioned. So there's decreased chronic inflammation, there is improved digestion. And on top of that, really the mind-body system starts to work in an enhanced way for us to give us more clarity and be able to sustain our attention for longer, because that's really what meditation is as a skill, is we are sustaining our attention and giving our minds some amount of training to be able to let go of distractions. And so of course it's training the mind, but we also notice that it starts to show up in all of the other areas of our lives as well, right? So your brain and meditation, right? And so the neurotransmitter changes are really astounding. So serotonin and norepinephrine, DHEA, all of those things within just 3 weeks of a regular meditation practice go up. The endogenous serotonin, norepinephrine, they start to go up between 35 to 40%, and that is sustained. And what is really remarkable is dopamine levels. Endogenous dopamine levels go up by 60%, right? And so what that can show up as is decreased levels of anxiety, decreased levels of depression. We notice that we actually are less reactive. That was one of the main things that I actually started meditating for, because I was so reactive. I was so snippy, and I just felt like I could not get my mind to slow down. And I was trying to do that by just thinking myself out of it, and that wasn't going to work out, right? And so there are some pretty astounding long-term gray matter changes within the prefrontal cortex, which really has lots and lots of implications for improved capacity for cognitive abilities, improved capacity for us to have that sustained focus that I already talked about. And the really cool thing is we get to have access to these higher centers, right? So the midbrain is that fight or flight center, the amygdala, the hypothalamus. And you can see this is like a pre-meditation and this is post-meditation. And so you can see that pretty quickly within 10 minutes that the prefrontal cortex is really kind of back online, if you will, right? The prefrontal cortex is where we can make those higher cognitive decisions, and we start to have coherence between the heart and the brain. And all of those things, again, start to bring us into that homeostatic state, homeostasis being that dynamic non-change in the midst of constant change. It's sort of this miraculous thing that our mind-body system knows how to do innately and incredibly well. And these long, short-term changes, they just continue, they keep going, they keep going. And so the brain itself will look different. Your brain will look different next year if you choose to meditate for even a slightly consistent basis for the next, several months, if you will. And we're really just thinking right now about, oh, y'all, I have the most amazing photos of like this really angry cat that was like still stressed, didn't meditate. Does anyone have any questions? Because I'm going to just move us directly into a meditation. If not, what do you guys, let me see you. Any questions? We're good? Okay. So we're actually going to do a soft little nidra, or NSDR. So NSDR stands for non-sleep deep rest. Feel free to get off the camera if you'd like, and feel free to just lie down if it's possible for you to lie down. If not, that's no problem. You can just kind of recline a little bit. And if you want to, you can also just be sitting upright as well. And this is a fully guided meditation. And all you have to do is follow along. You do not have to really know anything about meditation. You don't have to have any prior knowledge at all. The hardest thing you might do is try not to fall asleep. Okay. I'll see you guys on the other end here. So take a minute, and if it's possible for you to lie down, go ahead and lie down, and notice if you could have a blanket, because your body temperature might dip a tiny bit. It's okay for you to lay in your bed if you think you won't fall asleep. I often lie down on my yoga mat with a soft, comfy blanket on top of it. And so just taking a minute to feather your nest, if you will. And so this type of meditation is effortless, and there's no wrong way to do it. So once you're settled, we're just going to get some of the tension out of our bodies. Our bodies hold so much tension. And so to do that, see if you can place your arms on the floor above your head, and go ahead and stretch and inhale the arms and legs in opposite directions. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And release. And again, let's inhale and stretch the arms, stretch the legs, stretch. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Whew. And now let go completely. Allow the arms to come to your sides. And if it feels comfortable for you, closing your eyes and releasing the tension in your belly with this next outgoing breath. Notice if there's any expectations or worries in the mind. Notice if it's possible just to gently release those just for the next few moments, just letting them go, giving yourself permission to be right here in this moment. And let's breathe in fully and exhale with a deep sigh. And again, breathe in fully and exhale with a deep, audible sigh. Knowing that these deep sighs, they increase our vagal tone. Notice if you feel a blanket of heaviness that's washing over your face, your arms, heaviness of the spine, the legs, the whole body. Feel your whole body beginning to soften and relax. I feel a deep sense of contentment and peace washing over you. If you have an issue that you'd like clarity or resolution on, bring it into your awareness now. Trust that whatever needs to happen will happen spontaneously and effortlessly. Let go of any effort to make anything happen. Now bring your body into awareness. Recognize your body has been a trusted vehicle, creating accomplishments and contributions to the best of its ability. Now it's time for your body to rest deeply. Feel your outward attention moving inward. Allow the commentary of the mind to dissolve into sensation. All excess tension and holding carried out with each exhaling breath. Allow your entire body to respond to my words directly and non-mentally. Allow any disturbances, external or internal, to draw you more deeply within. Let your mind merge and melt into the energy body and go beyond the boundaries of body and mind. Now shift from thinking and doing to feeling and being. Do absolutely nothing from now on. As you breathe in through your nose, fill your lungs fully and completely without straining. Now start exhaling through softly pursed lips, as if you're blowing through a straw. Let it be a prolonged, steady stream of breath, and empty your lungs completely. Breathe in completely and breathe out completely without straining. Each time you exhale, empty your mind of all anticipations and empty your body of all tensions. As you inhale, fill your heart with joy. Continue to breathe with constant attention and detached awareness. Each time you inhale, drop into a deeper level of silent awareness and experience the balancing and relaxing impact of the parasympathetic nervous system. Breath is calm. Mind is silent. Body is relaxed. Heart is unconditionally open. Now return to your normal breathing and turn your attention inward. Experience the powerful impact of vibratory energetic pulsations in the form of sensations in your body. Enter an effortless state of being. Now feel as if you are a seed planted in the soil. It is dark, moist, and cool. You know you are here to experience the sun. You can feel its warmth and energy penetrating through the soil, showing you which direction to go. You send out a tiny shoot, breaking the surface of the ground above. At the same time, sending roots down deep into the earth for support and nourishment. Feel yourself growing upwards toward the light of the sun, higher and higher, bursting forth into your full expression as a tree. See the tree that you are. You don't need to compare yourself with other trees, for you are incomparably unique as you are. You are you, standing fully now in yourself as you are. Feel yourself expressing your full potential as a tree, alive, vibrant, full of life-giving energy. The light that made you emanates from within you. The more you embrace the tree that you are, the more that light shines through you. Now give yourself permission to enter into the deepest state of relaxation right now. Let go. Nothing to do or achieve. Open, empty of all doing, all past, all future. Sensations, thoughts, images floating by like clouds on a clear blue sky. Letting it all gather and dissipate, come and go. Be the space in which it is all happening. And allow your entire self to respond spontaneously and effortlessly as I repeat the following affirmations. I am released from my self-image to explore, expand, and experience the infinite potential unfolding from within me. I stand fully in my power, exactly as I am. My body is light, my mind is at peace, and my heart is open. Now, slowly beginning to become aware of the rising and falling of the breath. Slowly feeling yourself beginning to rise to the surface of awareness. Sensing the body resting. Seeing if you can sense the quality of the air as it touches the skin. Gradually, you can move as if you're waking from a restful sleep. Taking your time, there's no hurry. If you feel the need to sit up, you may do so with your eyes closed, or you may remain lying down. Regardless of what you consciously recognize that has or has not changed, know that something deep within has shifted. As you come back to the body, notice the vast ocean of silence within which the thoughts rest, within which the mind rests. As you come back, bring a deep sense of peace, a sense of contentment with you. Only when it feels like the time to open your eyes, you may do so. Otherwise, just continue to rest. It was really luscious, you guys. I loved that. So I wanted to invite you, if that felt good for you, if that felt like you connected with something there, whether it was before the meditation or during the meditation, I just want to invite you to consider working with me on a bit of a deeper level. This is actually Healthy Mind, Happy Holidays is back by popular demand. I ran it last year and it was a wild success. And so I decided to bring it back. And I've actually tweaked quite a few things and changed quite a few things to make it even better than last year. So if you were here last year, we're going to have even more fun. So I know does it seem weird to say like happy holidays? Like it seems really weird to me. But it turns out it's like almost November, which means it's almost Thanksgiving, which means it's almost like all the other December holidays. So in Healthy Mind, Happy Holidays, because those holidays are definitely coming. Is a complete immersion. It's actually, I call it a revolution of the way that we get to be, the way that we get to move through the holidays. And so the year end is generally the most stressful time for all of us. And so I want us to ditch that idea. I want us to embrace more calm. And I want us to feel that calm inside, regardless of how we look on the outside. I want you to have time efficiency. So what we know for sure when we are in a program with a community, with a teacher, that we do show up. And when we show up, we get the results. And so there's a lot of time efficiency on the outside of a meditative practice as well, meaning we can, when we're more focused, we can get more done in a couple of hours than we can in a whole day sometimes. I think every single one of you has had that experience. And when we are moving through the hectic parts of our lives like that, we can actually have happy holidays, right? If you're a physician, there is CME available. This is not a CME program, but I can manage to give you guys a little bit of CME if you need to. So just so you know, right? And so what's in there? What's inside Happy, Happy Holidays, Healthy Mind? And so it's actually ready for you right this instant. There's a curated library that is very specifically for busy women. We're not beating around the bush. And we know that I know there's lots of apps and they're good apps, but they're very generic. And so what you get when you work with a teacher like me, who's been doing this work for, the past dozen years or so, and then actually actively teaching for about 3 years or so, is the more curated versions, the deeper the depth that you probably are craving if you're here. And so we'll actually have live sessions that are interactive, and those are going to happen on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern time. They're always recorded and they're always available on demand. So last year, what was really cool was folks brought their whole families because, if like the kids were home or if cousins were home or something like that. And so I encourage that. And I think it's the most wonderful thing. It can be a really fun family activity that you can do anytime. You don't even have to come on Monday nights. You can do it anytime. And so you can create this sort of rhythm for yourself as you move through all of the chaos and all of the turbulence during the holidays. And if you're on your laptop, if you wanted, this will take you directly there. Otherwise, I'll also email this for you as well. And so the total value is over $1,500 if you were keeping track of what all is in there. And right now there is a limited time offer. It will go up as we get closer to the actual date. And even better, even more astoundingly better than the $249 of the early bird rate is the coupon code. So if you use the coupon code earlybird40, and again, I'll email this to you. You don't have to remember this, but if you feel called to go ahead and get in right now, then you'll get directly into all of those meditations we just talked about. It is $40 off for the next 48 hours. And so you'll get it for even less than $249. It will never, ever, ever be this price again. It will only go up from here, I promise. And I think those of you who've worked with me before know that too. And so I wanted this to be like such a luscious, delicious deal that you jumped on it immediately, right? So this always rings true for me, right? The energy of the mind is the essence of life. And so if we can really hone in and tune in to the energy of the mind, then our entire lives can really shift because of that. I'm going to stop here. I have just enough time for Q&A. It's also, you can also just reach this through my main website, but do not worry, you will get this on email as well. And I am so excited about it. So it is on Monday nights, Leah. It is 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Yes, ma'am. I did not write that in there. Yeah, yeah. And again, I have had folks who have not been able to make a single one. I know it's hard for you guys on the West Coast. That's why I moved it from 7 to 8 p.m. And even on the East Coast, it might be still a little hard for you guys to make it. But this was just a really fun thing. And I do hope that you guys consider joining. And if you have questions, please ask, or if you have, comments, anything, I'm here. So please ask me. Perhaps I'll and stop the recording, I'm thinking. Yes, I believe I will.